Kumar Saxena. I welcome you to my show, The Influencer Talks. The first question which I will to ask you is that the National Statistics Office has said that the Indian economy has shrunk by almost 23% between April and June this year. And there is a study which says that overall this year, the economy will shrink by 10% almost. So what is your take that how long will it take for the economy to revive or come back to the original where we were last year?
Atulji, first I would like to thank you for inviting me for this show. And as you know that Indian Importers Chamber of Commerce industry has a membership base of 200,000 people from all walks of life and all walks of professions, from manufacturing, trading, and also in service sector.
Right.
So no doubt, all economists, both from the private sector as well as from the government sector, are speaking openly for the downturn of the Indian economy. But as you are well aware that the main reason has been the lockdown, which had hit the Indian industry, and similarly it had hit the consumers, which basically drive the economy. When you consume more, the industry produces more. When industry produces more, it's a value chain. It goes down to the farm, from farm to the fork, for example.
Right.
So consumption had gone down, jobs have been lost, etc. So economy obviously has gone down. But it's a global phenomenon. It's not only hit India, but it's hit badly in US and Europe and other countries where COVID was prevalent.
Yeah.
But coming to our economy, now let me focus on our economy. As you are well aware, Indian economy is a huge economy. And we have a very strong middle class, which has a great purchasing power. This middle class is increasing day by day. There are families now where both members are earning.
Right.
And they have a big consumption. You can see the change in the consumption levels also, and at the same time you will also see the point of sales have changing from day to day. Every now and then you hear of department stores which have been inaugurated and which are being opened, which offer various products. So consumerization will lead to the revival of the economy.
Right.
Another thing which revives the economy is the government spending. How much the government is spending on various big projects. So obviously, if we are making a highway, National Highway Authority is making a road from A to B. So obviously, they will be spending more money. There will be companies which will be employing more people, and those people will be requiring to travel. So they will require motorcycles. Their income will come in, so their children will go to schools, etc.
Right.
So government also plays a very big role in reviving the economy and also giving the required push in the economy.
Right.
No doubt today we are into deficit financing, and the government of India is trying to weigh the various options to push in the money into the economy. And as you can see daily that there are a lot of big projects which are being announced, and especially our Prime Minister has announced the Atmanirbhar program, that is self-reliance. Now in that, today's paper I was reading that 80% of the raw material, pharmaceutical raw materials are imported into the country. Now they have constituted a committee that in the coming 5 years, we should have industry which will make these raw materials. Now, the very fact this new industry will come, it will bring in again the amount of liquidity into the market. So the economy, Indian economy has a lot of resilient features. And as per president of the chamber, and my experience of so many years into trade, I think that by this puja season, by the puja season, which will start very soon, and means end October, November time, the economy will be in a different shape altogether.
Just now you said that Atmanirbhar, we are running through that. And but do you think, as an ICCI president, do you think that will this affect adversely the importers in India?
You see, the chamber follows the 3I principle. Right. Now, what are the 3 I's? Imports. Now, if Samsung, take a case of one Korean company, for example,
Yeah.
Samsung first came in as selling their products in India, means their products were imported into the country.
Right.
Now they saw that there is a big demand.
G.
So they did investment. So another I. They invested in a factory, first factory in India.
Mm-hmm.
And this led to industry. So imports will always lead to investments from the foreign companies, and this investment will lead to industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then the industry will obviously lead to down the line employment, requirement of vendors, raw materials which have to be sourced locally, and obviously the land where the factory has to be built. So imports will always lead to investments. Means unless I don't sell, I will not invest in that country,
Right.
and I will invest to grow the market in that country. So Hyundai is one example, LG is another example,
Right.
Hyundai and Samsung is another example, Lotte is another example. I'm just giving example of 4 Korean companies.
Korean
Now we
company.
can see the same example of Japanese company Toyota, Hitachi.
G.
Today Hitachi air conditioners have nearly 60% of the Indian market, and they have a huge plants in India, and they keep on expanding these plants.
Mm-hmm.
So who is benefiting? We are benefiting
Right.
because the import content is very less today. They are
True.
just import the critical components. Rest are all sourced and made in India, and employment is given. And such employment also leads to our labor getting more skilled, and also our vendors are getting more technology.
Right.
You see the ancillary units of Maruti, for example.
G.
Suzuki, the whole of Manesar and Udyog Vihar 1 and 2 in Gurgaon has having Maruti and ancillaries. Now, who has put this? The Indians. None. Who has given the technology for making the switch in the Maruti car? So imports will always lead to industry, and that will lead to investments coming in. So importers are not basically harmed in any way in Atmanirbhar or Make in India program.
All
It
right.
is good for the country that we should have a self-reliance, but self-reliance will come in due course. But for becoming so, we'll have to get somebody who can give us the transfer technology, TOT, which has to
Absolutely.
come from overseas.
Absolutely.
Either we buy the technology if we are strong enough, like Tata's or Bharat Forge, they're buying technology to make guns or warships, or
Yeah.
L&T, which is buying technology to make submarines. So, for
Right.
example, or we will have to go in a joint venture where we allow the foreign partner to invest with us to make the product in India. The third option is that we start our own homegrown technology, which will take time.
Which will take
So
time.
it is better to catch hold of hand of somebody who is more talented than you. You see, so that talent percolates to your level.
So the importers do not get directly impacted with such kind of programs, what we are launching.
No,
So it's
no.
not.
Importers do get directly impacted, but usually they become partners of their principals in
Yeah.
putting up a factory. Like Samsung, if when it wanted to put up a factory, they obviously look for their own distributor who was earlier their importer, and said, if okay, I'm ready to give you X amount of shares. I'm just giving an example. And
Yeah.
you, why
Yeah.
don't you become a partner with us, because local knowledge is more important. So it's better
All right.
instead of going for 100% FDI.
Yeah.
Every foreign company who comes wants to have a local partner. Even Rafael, for example, have a local partner in
Absolutely.
Nagpur, that is the Ambani group. So
Yeah.
everybody will be having. Bharat Forge has another local setup, but they have taken technology from Sweden for
Yeah.
some defense products. So,
Right.
so,
Right.
so local partners don't get affected unless they are traders.
One of another thing which is going on, which is affecting the economy probably, the situation at the LAC at this point in time, where the relations of India and China are getting affected, and there is a growing demand and pressure to lesser import from China, whether it is a product or it's goods. So, do you think that this is the right way of exercising this kind of issue? Is it negatively affecting, or it could have been done in a more subtle manner where it doesn't get impacted so harshly, or will it impact at all?
Basically, we have to dig a little deep to understand the present economic situation.
Ji.
I will not discuss the defense situation or the political. I'm talking about the economic situation.
Yeah, yeah.
We all know that exports of China are more to India than our exports to them.
Absolutely.
The total trade between the two countries is $90 billion, and our exports to them is just 30 billion.
Yeah, yeah.
And 30 billion is their exports. So 30 you utilize. So equivalent amount is the balance of trade in their favor.
Yeah.
Now, why this balance of trade is in their favor? There are various reasons. That China today has become the manufacturing hub of the world. They don't make for India, they make for the world.
Absolutely.
They're making shoes. There is a shoe cluster which I have visited, where shoes are made in trillions. And everything is done there, right from the sole, the complete shoe, the padding, the buckles, etc. So they have capitalized on the world markets, and they are today making for all the world. So, and Indians as such are not competent to do that sort of mass production, because we are only producing for ourselves always. There are only few companies which have thought of going out of India. I talk to very large companies, they say, no, we have enough of market here in India. So we don't want to export. Okay, if you want to export, you buy from us and export. But we are not really interested, because for us, it's a very big market in India. It's a huge market, so we are not interested. But in China, they had a different mentality. They have planned in such a way to make products which can be exported. So obviously the price is cheap. Now, when the price is cheap, all over the world, traders are approaching them. Like EUCT. Now, EUCT is one hub where you have more than 5,000 showrooms, where every day products change. Like today, you go and see, you will find watches in that shop, in the showroom. Tomorrow, you go, you will find lighters. Day after tomorrow, there will be pens. EUCT, which is the place where all people go to buy. There are big companies like Metro, Walmart, which have the offices there, and which they source products from there. So Indians also have found that a lot of products were cheaper, and they could buy and do trading into the country. Right. At the same time, China also started doing market research, and they found that India is one of the largest exporter of generic formulations from India. So they set up factories in China to make the raw materials. That's what I'm saying, that 90% of our pharmaceutical raw material, and the government is now getting aware of it, comes from China, like cipro processing, paracetamol, all these raw materials which we call APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, are imported into the country. Absolutely. And just I told you today itself in the newspaper, the government plans to set up hubs and promote Indian companies, help them to make these products by giving incentive. This is a major region that China has understood the Indian market, made products for Indian market, and today they dominate. Like citric acid is very highly used in India, and not a drop is made in India. You'll be surprised. All comes from China. Citric acid is, in Hindi we call fitkari, basically. Tartary. So we don't make a drop. Now, how can you replace them? It will take some time. So there are many products like these which are used in raw materials like pharma, chemicals, etc. But a lot of products like toys, etc. Like our Prime Minister also spoken about toys, that we should develop the hub. And nobody knew that there was a toy hub in Noida. And now after this news, now it has come up that there was and 70% is vacant. People got the land, but they couldn't make anything because of the Chinese, and they have left. And Mr. Gautam, one of the persons, I was reading his interview recently, that he has put up this and he's making toys, and he's got a monopoly in those block toys, etc. So we have to take chances, and the government has to play a major role to help the MSME sector, because they're all MSME industries. They are not large scale companies which require a huge capital base of 100 crores or 50 crores. These are all factories which require about 10 to 20 crores maximum investment, capex. Right. And products can be made, but government must support. Buttons, you will be surprised, are imported from China. Zips are imported from China. How much can you, even that kite flying, the Manja also was coming, the Ganesh ji was coming. Now how can you, these can be, substituted by putting high tariff on these products or non-tariff barriers. So somebody will make when there are things will not come.
Ji.
The vacuum will be there, vacuum is all will filled with somebody. We have to see.
Ji. So what do you suggest how the government of India, if you are asking, you suggest to government of India that what exactly are the measures which are required to be taken by the government to ensure that these basic things like toys, manja you are talking about, citric acid we are talking about, how to develop it here in India? It's a time-taking process,
No,
but it has to start somewhere.
Yeah, so you see, we have many industrial states in India. Like, let's take the nearest to Delhi is Okhla, for example.
Ji.
So now today the industry from Okhla has vanished.
Ji.
There is very few industry left in Okhla.
Right.
There are more of car service stations, warehouses, showrooms on the main road, etc. The reason is very simple, that the real estate cost of in Okhla has gone up. So the industry doesn't, the person who owns that place, who took that place for manufacturing, let's take bearings.
Yeah.
Now you find that it is better to convert that into a warehouse or into office space,
Right.
and give it on rent. So government will first of all have to create new industrial states and give them on a very cheap rate
Right.
to the people, the stakeholders, number one.
Yeah.
With that, the government will have to take the risk of giving loans without collateral to these businessmen
Yeah.
who are interested to set up units in these industrial states.
Right.
And when you create industrial states, you have to create satellite facilities like housing, school, hospitals, so that I don't travel 100 kilometers
Right.
to work in Greater Noida factory
Yeah.
and then come back 100 kilometers back to my place in Delhi to stay. So they'll have to create a complete satellite towns. For example, I give you a case of Modi Nagar. Now,
Yeah.
Modi Nagar was developed by Modis,
Right.
and the whole industry was there, but they created housing also there for the people. And Modi Nagar, if you go back to history, was just a piece of land which had farmers were there, and the land was taken, acquired, and given to the Modi group, Gujarmal Modi, and he developed the place. Similarly, there are similar cases we can see in Renukut, where the Birlas put up their Hindalco plant, or Renukut housing is there, everything is there. Similarly, so many places we can say where these big industrial houses have, Jamshedpur for many. So these are now become history. But now you will not find anything like this.
Right.
That there is somebody who has been given like Ambani. You cannot find a city like Ambani. For
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, they should have been given 1,000 hectare of land and told, okay, you develop this place and let the industry also come in there, and let you put up a factory and let the ancillary come there.
Absolutely.
Maruti, for example, came in and on its own, and then the entrepreneurs then bought the places on their own and set up their factories, and all the factories now sell to Maruti.
Correct.
You see Minda Group today, Mother Swami Group and all, which were nowhere. You see before Maruti. Today, these groups are talking of 1,000 crores. So Minda Group is 1,000 crores. They've invested even in Vietnam. They have investment in Poland. They put factory in Poland.
Okay.
So why? Because of the simple reason, they had actually one big buyer in Maruti. So their sales were assured, and from there they have expanded. So you will have to have clusters, but with clusters you will have to provide the required infrastructure to sustain that cluster, like what China has done, China model. But I don't know, it can work out, it can be done in India. It's not that it is impossible.
Right.
With the good leadership of a Prime Minister who is seeing on long-term vision, these things can work out. And these are not 100 years or 50, or these are all 5-year plans. In 5 years, all this can happen.
It could be turned back. There was a major global financial crisis in 2008. Then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, he had bailed out the country economy through that crisis. So do you see any kind of a similarity or something which you miss now, or something which is being done better at this point in time today, this year?
See, when VP Singh government came in power, and Manmohan Singh was the finance minister at that time.
Right.
And means VP Singh was before, and he was the finance minister of Narasimha Rao. So there was a crisis, and even the gold was kept under mortgage and all, and money was frozen, because the previous governments, if you see, were a very short-term government of Devi Gowda and VP Singh, etc., IK Gujral, etc. So these governments had a very short duration and tenure, and they had taken such disastrous decisions
Ji.
that it all boiled down to Narasimha Rao.
Yeah.
And then Manmohan Singh, as finance minister, was able to control the economy and brought it to shape. So there was very different situation. Today the situation is not all that bad. A lot of positive developments are there, and the Modi government has been very lucky
Ji.
that the oil prices had gone down,
Ji.
which led to greater earnings for the government in terms of tax, because government didn't reduce the prices of petrol so much as they benefited from the crude oil prices going down.
Ji.
Besides it, our foreign exchange also was not being consumed so much, because we have to import three things are very big in India, which we import, FFF we call, fuel, fertilizer and food. So these three things consume a lot of our foreign exchange, because these are all necessities. Today we are not sufficient in fertilizers, we have to import fertilizers. We are not sufficient in food, we have to import pulses. We have to import oil seeds, we have to have palm oil. So still we have to import so many things, dry fruits, for example, fresh fruits. For example, we import a lot of food products. So all the three F luckily have gone down. Fertilizers also are now made in India. Mr. Modi has revived, for example, the Gorakhpur plant, which was their fertilizer plant, and many fertilizer plants which were closed have been revived now, and IFCO has been told to revive this plant, IFCO, IFL and all. So food security has increased today. You find the pulses prices going down, whether it had crossed 100 plus. Now they have gone down because of different import policy and etc. So we don't feel that the situation which was there at that time to today
can be compared.
Cannot be compared, because presently we have enough foreign exchange in our kitty, and no doubt our expenditure has gone up in certain sectors like railways, defense, etc. But this is being set off by the government again going in for privatization. So a lot of Niti Aayog has prepared a report where a lot of public undertakings will be will be sold. So again, the kitty of the government will increase. So government income is increasing. There is now a lot of auctioning of assets like mines, etc., which were earlier led to Colgate scam, the telecom scam. So now there's a transparent auctioning of the spectrums. So government, various sectors have increased. The income has increased. As a matter, you can see the GST, for example, it has increased. As increasing day by day. So a lot of companies which were working in the dark have to come out in the light, have to get registered as a GST vendor and have to now bill and all. So things have changed. Financially, the government is in a better
position now. So you think that a stimulus announced in the month of May of $266 billion, is it enough, or something else needs to be done? Something more needs to be done?
See, the government does announce a lot of schemes. But the most important thing are two. First of all, the percolation of these schemes to the grassroots level. And that is one, how well they are percolated down. And number two, how well they are supervised. See, the difference between Planning Commission to Niti Aayog is this only, that Niti Aayog today also supervises the money which has been allocated to a scheme per state. Earlier, Planning Commission used to make the plan and allocation was done, but there was no monitoring. Today, every pie which the government gives to the states under various schemes are monitored. So, if the scheme which various schemes which our Prime Minister had announced, post lockdown, so if these schemes are effectively monitored and they percolate to the ground level, so obviously the economy doesn't need more anything more than this. We have enough of schemes, but the percolation and supervision
execution of that.
execution, say how much percentage.
Okay, in case, I'm sure there is going to be some impact of imports from China. So if do you IICCI help in finding out the alternate markets for your members to import the same goods from something, or how do you help them?
No, see, let's take the case of apples.
Yeah,
Apples have been totally banned from China.
right.
And today, do you think there's a shortage in the market of apples?
No.
You don't. Why? The reason is the importer obviously substitutes it by another. Today you will not know, you will find apples from Poland, coming from Poland in huge quantity.
Right.
You have Washington apples,
Yeah.
you have apples from Italy, you have apples from Australia, you have apples from New Zealand. There is a well-known saying, the nature abhors vacuum. So
Right.
there cannot be vacuum of anything. The vacuum can be there for a few days or time or seconds. Immediately it will be covered up. So I'll just give you a case of apples, for example.
Yeah.
Today you will be surprised. Apple market in India is nearly 10,000 crores. It's a huge
Right.
market today. Apple are eaten from north to south, east to west,
Yeah.
and it is now found all over the year. Because when the apple season finishes from Himachal and Jammu, Kashmir, where it's grown, the apple season starts that time in Australia and New Zealand. Because their winter time is summer here. And in India, winter time is the apple season. So apples start coming from there.
Right.
And in between, apples come from Europe, which is in between season. So you get apples from there.
Absolutely.
And earlier, China was a huge exporter. Fuji, F-U-J-I, Fuji. Apple was a well-known brand in India, and they used to sell about 600 containers per month.
Oh.
It's a huge market. Yeah, it's a huge. Peers also. Both are banned now. They cannot sell in India. So there are a lot of examples I can give. Importers have found a substitute.
Has GST impacted the economy negatively?
No, GST has not impacted the economy negatively.
Yeah.
It has been a great gift by the present government.
Okay.
This GST issue is not an issue which was created by Mr. Modi. It came from the previous government.
Right.
And why from the previous government? Because it is part of the WTO norms that GST is one of the things which has to be followed by every country globally. So we were the one of the last which came into the GST regime. And GST, first of all, I don't want to go in detail, but GST, one thing it has done is removed so many taxes. I give you an example. My importers import goods from Pakistan, and they import by road.
Right.
So when the truck crosses from Wagah border and to Atari border and comes, then it has to come, let's say, to Noida. So while coming to Noida, it has to cross so many octroi barriers, etc. And because of that, there used to be queue on the octroi barrier because of corruption.
Right.
And if you want to jump the queue, you have to pay X amount of money and you could jump the queue. They will just create the queue. That is one, time. Number two, unnecessary payment of octroi, they will come, and if you don't pay that amount, they will tell, okay, I want to check the whole truck. You are saying it is carrying Sendha Namak? No, this is not Sendha Namak. I think this is carrying Haldi from Pakistan.
Right.
So you pay X amount. So cost was also involved. And the worst is the time which cannot be retrieved. So the truck used to take 2 days to reach Noida, while now it just takes 12 to 14 hours. So time saving is one, procedure, documentation, corruption has gone. Similarly, was central excise and state excise problems.
Correct.
When any excisable goods used to go from Delhi to Bombay for export, so there was a NACA. At that NACA, they will check the genuineness that this invoice is made for export. It is not entering Maharashtra state to be sold in Maharashtra and not paying the local excise. Again, there was a problem. Then there was a octroi post. It will stop there. And then it will go into the port. So exports also, there was a problem. Imports also, there was a problem. So all these multifarious taxes have been removed, which is time which is invaluable. I would say that has been restored. Now we have speedy export import clearances and movement of trucks etc. is faster.
Ji.
And this corruption has been finished by having one tax. So and documentation was so much. For example, an exporter used to export products from here to X country,
Ji.
and he used to buy from, let's take, he used to buy from Hitachi. Now Hitachi is an excisable unit. Now for export there was no excise, so he used to make a AR4A form,
Okay.
and the manufacturer will sign that form. Now when they sign the form, the excise department will allow that goods to go out of the factory without paying the excise because it is for export. Now that form has to be endorsed by the customs to say, yes, these goods have gone.
Okay.
Now that form has to come back to the excise office of the local manufacturer to cancel the earlier which had been issued, so that it is proof of export is there and cancellation. So much headache.
Absolutely.
And corruption.
Tedious job.
Time waste.
Absolutely.
Paper waste.
So overall, it has definitely benefited in many manners.
Many manners. If somebody is doing illegal, so obviously it has not benefited. For anybody doing white business and legal business, it is really benefited. It's a boom. And it had to come. Even if BJP government would have not come in power this time, and Congress would have, they would have done it. Somebody would have done it.
Absolutely.
Only thing is that this has gone in the account of the BJP government. That is by fluke. A lot of things have come into their account because of fluke, which was started by the Congress, and they have now finished that. Like the Rafale deal. Now, who started the Rafale deal? Everybody knows. Who started the Rafale deal? Now, they couldn't close it and somebody has closed it. Now, they are crying. There are many cases I don't discuss. I'm seeing big projects which were started by them. They have closed, so they are feeling bad about it. The point is that a lot of things, opposition in our country is just for opposition. It's not opposition for cooperation. It's just an opposition for opposing. And it's both sides. Tomorrow Congress comes, the BJP was opposing the GST that time. BJP states were opposing GST that time when Congress was there. Even Gujarat was opposing GST that time.
That's true.
So it's opposition in India is very
for the heck of opposing.
To oppose. They have to oppose anything which is right. They have to oppose. Absolutely. So that's the thing.
That's how the politics goes here. Atulji, the export actually contributes or plays a major role in economic development. How does the import positively impact the economy?
As I said earlier, II means imports will lead to FDI, investments, and FDI will lead to industry, and industry will lead to many things. That is one which I have talked about. Number two is very important, which I must share with you. Like the recent figure shows that 2.17 lakh crores was the customs duty which has been collected by the various custom ports in India. So that's a huge amount of money, and according to statistics, that is nearly 14% of the central government's income. The other incomes are from income tax, for example, from the GST share which they have, etc. Now, the customs income is I would say, the most easily collected. And various government meetings which I have with the ministers and etc. So always I tell that my importers give you the easiest income. So they ask me why. I tell, if an importer imports one container, now that container even has mud or sand, his record comes into the data. So he has to pay something to come out. So that something goes to the exchequer. He cannot hide or take it at night and run away. So it's all in the manifest, it's all in a computer. So it's the easiest income. Anything which comes in to the ports or airports, unless somebody is doing smuggling. Now the smugglers are not talking. The smugglers also have become less, except for gold. It's still smuggled and contraband like drugs. We are not talking about that.
Absolutely.
But 99% today smugglers are now doing legal business because of the lower customs duty. That's a very major thing which the government collects very comfortably. Now coming to income tax, I'm giving an example. I own 4 cars. I have a big house. I have 5-6 servants, etc. but I am paying just 400 rupees annually as income tax. Just
Absolutely.
because
It's happening.
there are various leakages and etc. Secondly, there are so many people who have not come in the net. It's very difficult to catch them. You
Absolutely.
have to just raid some people and say, "Ah, this person was raided," etc. So it's very difficult to catch hold of income taxpayers. Similarly with GST,
Correct.
but with the customs, it is very easy collection.
Absolutely.
And you can well know that every airport or seaport or land port every day is collecting cash because there is no credit. You come, you pay,
Yeah.
take out the container. Don't pay, demurrage. Or after 15 days, auction,
Auction.
customs will collect the money.
Mm.
The warehouse charges will be collected by Concor or
Mm.
CWC, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the easiest income of the government is, yes, there is nothing better than this income, is the
From
importers
imports.
which pay the money to the customer. And they contribute, I told you, 2.13 lakhs,
Yeah.
13 lakh
14% of the
crores.
GDP. Yeah.
Yeah, 14%. It is increasing rather. It's not going down. Why? Because imports are increasing. As manufacturing will keep on increasing, you'll have to keep on importing raw materials.
Right.
So Atmanirbhar will be there.
Ji.
But for Atmanirbhar, you cannot make everything in India. You will have to import some critical components initially.
Right.
Later on, could be import substitution might take place.
Ji.
So imports will keep on increasing. You see, we are the largest importer of gold.
Yeah.
Today, 10% is the import duty.
Right.
And in this financial year, we have already done 700 tons of gold import, 700 tons official gold import. And
All right.
I don't want to say how much is unofficially. Every day you are reading, VIPs are getting involved.
VIP
You are
getting
saying,
involved. Yeah.
so you can understand the amount. And if the government, always say the government reduces the duty
Ji.
to 5%, their collection will be more because all the gold which is coming through other channels will
Will
be
also, yeah.
coming through legal channel.
Absolutely.
You get my point?
Ji.
It's not that reduction of 5% will lead to lesser of custom duty
Revenue.
collection. It will be
Yeah.
more.
So, now, a couple of questions about your institution, IICCI. How do you ensure the youngsters get attached to your institution, and how are they helped as a young entrepreneur for startups?
Yeah, these startups are one, vertical where the chamber works very hard.
Ji.
And I would like to give a simple case of one of our members. She's Mrs. Akriti Gupta, who makes chocolates. She's a
Okay.
chocolatier.
Yeah.
So she's a member of the chamber,
Ji.
and she's a startup. And the chamber has been helping her in two ways. Number one, to find new customers for her,
Yeah.
and also coming back to the importer link. So we also have been successfully been able to find for her
Ji.
suppliers of chocolate from where she can import and make chocolates at a better price. So
Okay.
the importers chamber is able to get that sort of know-how to startups, which they as individuals are not able to access because startups have limited resource, limited time, and they're so busy to survive. Their main concern is how to survive,
Right.
and survival is on a daily basis initially. And
Correct.
later on, when they get some venture capital or some VC capital or angel financing, they tend to grow, but that takes time.
Right.
So startups do have lot of troubleshooting to be done,
Ji.
and the chamber comes in that way to help them, handhold them, and help them to source lot of things which they could normally wouldn't be able to do. But the chamber's network is spread in 60 plus countries.
All
It is
right.
very easy for us to help them to
Yeah.
find. Like another gentleman, his name by chance is also Atul. So
Okay.
he is into computer hardware, and now he is finding it difficult to get the products from China. He's a member of ours, so he came to us. So
Mhm.
we said, okay, give us the list of what you were importing from China. We'll find
Right.
another supplier for you. So we are working in Vietnam for him, for example, where we have a
Okay.
very strong chapter
Ji.
of ICCI Vietnam Limited. You see, the chamber has independent chapters in 17 countries,
All right.
including India, 18 countries. These are independent chapters. Representation is in 60 countries, but independent chapters means I'll come back to that later. So we have been able to source 3 products which are made in Vietnam, and they were exporting to XYZ in the ASEAN only. The manufacturer is very happy to find a supplier to buy a buyer in India, and he is very surprised that really that Vietnam also produces the same thing, the routers or as ancillary for the mobile or something like that. We really help startups in various ways because we have access to the world basically, and it's not easy to find reliable supplier through internet and etc. because you don't know what is the backup there, and many frauds take place where people transfer the money and suddenly that company vanishes. So they always would like to work through a network which is a reliable network. So we don't work like that. We have people on the ground level, so we can go and visit that office in Vietnam, see and then talk. And today, in a second, we can get connected on a WhatsApp group call. So that faster communication. We have similarly ICC Bangladesh, ICC USA, Russia, Vietnam. So Italy. So we are spreading. We have 18 locations of our independent chapters and present in 60 countries. So that network helps the startups in a big way, both for importation and also if they want to export, they cannot do it on their own. An export manager will cost nearly 50 to 60,000 rupees for a startup to have that. It's not easy. So sitting here, we can find a market for them in XYZ country.
I was just going through your this thing, and I read that your chamber is actually you have signed certain level of agreements with various governments directly or with the embassies. So how do you function? How does it work?
Basically, the chambers, our chamber has a USP. We are not like FICCI, CII, ASHOCAM, and PAT chamber. We have our own UCP. And the first thing is when you get connected to the chamber, this connect must lead to a contract. Means it should be a tangible benefit. It should not be that you come to me, okay, I want to export to Bangladesh. We just give you a 10 pager. Okay, you read this and you will find the relevant information there. No. We do the hand holding till the end. So in various countries, we have signed also MOUs with the government agencies, also with the local chamber of commerces, etc., where we feel that our local chapter or our local representative is not sufficient. So we will have to have a MOU, let's like a MOU with Chamber of Commerce in Tanzania, because we don't have a location in Tanzania at present. Our office is in Ethiopia. We have a chapter in Ethiopia. So Ethiopia is East Africa, while Tanzania is pretty far from there, and Morocco is right north, and South Africa is down south. So we cannot be looking after all this from Ethiopia. So we will rather sign MOU with the South African Chamber of Commerce or Moroccan Chamber of Commerce, Tunisian Chamber of Commerce, so that we have a local network available. So once we sign this MOU, we try to penetrate their membership list to see what type of members they have and what could be of interest to us. Supposing we find a member who is written importer of rice. So then we try to find a member in India who is exporter of rice. Supposing there is a member who says exporter, like in Egypt, we have an exporter of onion. Now there is a shortage in onion. Government might import onions. So we already have today 6 exporters from Egypt who are ready to sell in India. I'm just giving the present scenario. So we already have. So if the moment government allows imports of onions, now they've just banned the export. But if the price situation is not under control, every year they allow imports also. And NAFED does it, it's a big body of government, but private companies are also allowed to import. So that sort of data bank we do have access by signing various agreements and having strategic alliances with various government, semi-government or business-related organizations globally. So we have, Touchwood, we have nearly 500 such agreements in various countries. And we work on that's where the second USP of the chamber is the network. So we try to increase the network on a daily basis and try to see who can come in the net, because we don't know what type of requirement might come for technology, for product or services, and could be finance also. So the chamber is being young, so we are very fast and smart. We are
Right.
not like all those 4 chambers which are 60 plus.
Yeah.
Some are 2 are 100 plus,
Yeah.
FICCI is 100 plus, and
Yeah.
PhD is 100 plus, and other 2 are 60 and 75. Ashok is 75. So we are very young, so we are more fast and more smart. We do smart working rather than bureaucratic red tapeism. So we
Right.
don't believe in procedure. We believe in more in action.
How do you help in the pricing of the goods? Do you help in negotiating that?
No, we don't get involved in the commercial aspects of things.
Okay.
Buying, selling is done on individual level.
That
We can
is
only create a platform for buyer-seller meet, but how much a person buys and what he sells, it's very individual. Chamber doesn't involve in this unless and until the member or the importer, exporter, they need our help in price negotiation, which is very rare because we don't want to enter into a commercial zone. We are more of a network maker or partnership maker or a matchmaker rather than business conclusion. We
all right.
don't believe in that.
When was IICCI was established?
See, ICCI has a long history. If you go and check our website, etc.,
Yeah.
it was in 1985. Indian Importers Association was made because there was no platform for importers. So they some importers got together and made an association. In 2015, this importer association was converted into a chamber of commerce industry. So today, we do have importers still as a large, base membership. But today, being a chamber of, chamber of commerce and industry, so we have membership from all walks of.
Thank you, Atulji. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Atulji.
Thank you, sir.